In this video, we're going to install ArcShell from our local node out to a remote node. In reality, I'm doing it on the same node, but a different user. So we're going to install from Ethan out to TST. If you watched the previous videos, you know that I already installed ArcShell to TST, but I've removed all that, so we're starting fresh here. And assuming that we've installed it and into the Ethan account. Now we're going to set up an SSH connection. We're going to establish key-based authentication. And then we're going to package up ArcShell and then install it. And so let's go ahead and get started. So here we go. So we're going to source ArcShell in. And then I'm going to do SSH add with an alias of TST at devgame. And I need to, it's showing me where the configuration file is here. So testgame has been configured using, and there is the file. So if I wanted to, I could edit that just by opening that file up, because that's all it is. It's in our global home. If you recognize, this is our ArcShell home, and then this is our global home. It's a thing. A thing is just a ArcShell object that we can control through a module. This thing happens to be called an SSH connection, our connections, and this is the file. So let's just open that file in VI, and you can see that I could change the alias, I could add some tags, change the port number, and provide a different private key file if I wanted to. We'll get into how to use all this much later, but just wanted to show you that. Now it's important that we run SSH refresh because of those things like the alias and the tags. We have some indexes that need to be maintained. We don't want to rebuild those indexes every single time we make a modification, because a lot of times we're making modifications in batch. So you want to make your modifications and then run SSH refresh. Eventually that'll be part of the ArcShell service daemon's job, just to notice that modifications have been made, and refresh will happen automatically in the background, if no other changes have been made within a few minutes. So basically, if you get a little idle period, it'll run this for you automatically. But that feature is not there yet. Okay, so now we have our SSH connection. Let's go ahead and just show you that I can use regular. This would be a regular SSH connection. It's going to ask me for the password quite a few times until we get that set up. And you can see I'm logged in there, and there should not be an SSH directory. There's not. Okay. So we can use the ArcShell framework to connect also. So we can type SSH connect to test. And notice I just used the alias there. And we connect. Now the nice thing about it is I disconnected. If I want to reconnect, it caches the last connection, so I can just type SSH connect, and it knows to connect to that account. And I typed the wrong password. Okay, so now let's set up SSH key-based authentication. So what I'm going to do is run SSH check, but I'm going to pass the fixed flag in because I already know there's problems, and it's going to automatically run SSH keygen and all that good stuff, and set the permissions on the files, create an authorized key file for me. Okay, so there we go. It did all that. It's cleaning up itself. That's why it needed to do that. And if I run SSH check again, it's going to come back with all okays. Okay, and it's going to do its cleanup. Okay, so there you see everything. It does a little check out to make sure that everything is okay. This could all be done manually, but it's a lot easier when you can do it this way. And obviously this can be scripted, which is very nice. A lot easier than if you tried to script it yourself. Okay, so now we want to basically put our public key in the test's authorized key file. We could do that manually, of course, but what we're going to do is just say SSH send key. It knows that I'm still dealing with the test server, and it's passing a file over there. Now it's saying I can connect using key-based authentication. So let's try SSH connect, and it should connect us without a password. Awesome. Okay, so that's working. Okay, so now we can connect to test, and what we want to do is package our local ArcShell installation. So we're going to type ArcShell PKG. There's different options you can pass into this, but we are just going to basically create a package from our existing ArcShell installation. It will store that in our user home under things and packages, and that's where those files will be. I could create a global package which I distribute with the ArcShell framework itself if I wanted to, by putting it in global home things packages. So you can see there's our file. Now it's already cached that file name. I actually don't need to run this command, but I will. Package set file. So I'm just saying when I work with packaging, that's the file I'm going to work with. I can do SSH show, which shows me my connection is still test game. And so now what we can do is just type ArcShell setup, and it knows to use that file against that connection, and it will do the install. So it says I'm going to deploy this targz file to test at dev game. Now it's going to use all the default installation paths. So it's going to create in the home directory app folder ArcShell, install ArcShell there. We'll see that in a second. So if you watch the first video, it's basically doing the same thing, but it's doing it remotely over SSH. So this makes it really easy to install ArcShell once you have it installed on one server, to install it on your other servers without necessarily having to go out and download a file, stage a file, and do all that kind of stuff. So we're installed over there now. We'll type SSH connect, and we will look, and we can see we have our app directory, we have our ArcShell directory, that's our user home. If you saw the first video, cd app, cd ArcShell, and it's installed. It's already installed. We could run setup again. It doesn't hurt. You can run setup as many times as you want. So you see how easy it is to deploy ArcShell out to a remote node. I'm going to show you one more thing here. What we're going to do is, let's say we made a change to our I'm going to cd to arc home. I don't need to do this, but clear. Let's say we made a change. We're on our deployment node. We've done some development. We've tested some code, and now we want to push it out. Again, we can just say SSH set. I don't need to do that. It's already set. And what we can do now is, without packaging, let's just take the current home. I can just say ArcShell sync. Now, because when you package ArcShell, it excludes like the GitHub account files. Those are actually going to be synced because this is my actual development install that I do development with, so I've got all these GitHub files. So when I do the sync, you'll see a lot of files go past. You wouldn't normally see those. So we're going to run ArcShell sync, and it is basically syncing this home out to test, and it tells me it's going to do that. So I'm going to sync this home to test dev game, the home there, and there's all the GitHub files. And so what this is using is just rsync to do a sync. Now rsync isn't always available, and also I've run in the past to rsync compatibility issues where you can't get the admins necessarily to fix the issue, and rsync just doesn't work between servers. So I try not to build hard dependencies on rsync because it may not be there. So we have this capability of basically sending the targz file over and doing an update from that also, but that's not what I want to show here. So there we go. So basically, if I had made a change, and if I do ArcShell sync again, you'll see there's not much to sync. But if I made a change, it would sync that out really quickly. So I can make changes here and sync them out. And then you could sync them by groups of nodes, or all, a node at a time, groups of nodes. You could go to your test nodes and then your UAT nodes, and then you could push from UAT to prod, or you could create a package with a specific name and then push that package to prod. You have all these great distribution channels and options for getting your code, maintaining your code on a single location, then pushing it out to all the remote locations. Okay, so that's how you do a remote install. If you have any questions, just ask in your support forum, and I can shoot videos for you, show you how to do things, or we can get you on a webcast or web share, screen share, and I can help you do things that way also if you need it. All right, thanks for watching.